Welcome to Fat Cat Productions News with a View. Today is February 3rd. This is episode 27. My name is John Costa, and I'm your host for our news vlog, podcast, rant, nonsense. What I try to do here is take mainstream media news from print, from the left all the way through the right. Basically the same article on the same discussion, taking the facts from one and applying it towards the facts of the other, making sure that they're both factual, which I will say every time. I've yet to see MSNBC put something down that was different than Fox. All right. So in that sense, and everything in between, their data is factual. The only time you will get skewed data is when one of these organizations, and they all do it, hide it down like in a little opinion poll, and then that data becomes confusing. So I very rarely will use an opinion poll, but sometimes I will, to show the absurdity of what each organization is doing. It's an opinion. When you see an opinion poll, that's like at the fourth quarter, 3 seconds to go, 50 yards to the goal, and they just throw a Hail Mary and hope. So yesterday on episode 26, which went out very, very late, this might be right behind it in the time, because I think by the time I rendered it and got it out the door, it was about 12:15 a.m. And that had a lot to do on the Doge commission. And I was a little murky on the facts and how it works and who's authorized, who do they report to, and how was it established, and what's its real purpose. I knew kind of what the real purpose was. Of course, it was efficiency. And then I said I would look through and go through and see where I could find breadcrumbs and dots and stuff. And that took quite a while this morning. I did get up very early this morning and started working. I'm the only one that does this research for me. And the problem, again, is you're dependent on what's out there. So you got to be very careful that what I'm looking at is really the truth. And the only way you can do that is actually start going into government filed papers. So that's what I did. And then from there, pulling the veil back. And it's interesting. Answered some of my questions. I have a little commentary that I will make. This will probably go a whole hour. So, and this is, and I just grabbed this story out of the AP. The first part is AP, and then it goes down to New York Times, and then other people, and finally down to me. But I did not go to Fox and look at this and compare, only because I did compare it, and it was basically all the same. So there was nothing to really go other than the slant. And I'll get to the slant part of it, and I have it highlighted. All right. Doge is, of course, the Department of Government Efficiency. And it's being headed up, and this article said, run by President Trump's billionaire advisor. All right, so somehow they're alluding to, you know, they're not alluding. Okay, he's a billionaire and he's an advisor. So, all right. Did they need to add that? I think everyone knows who Musk is. And the worry now that Musk has gained sensitive Treasury data, including Social Security and Medicare customer payment systems, according to two people familiar with the situation, which, again, all these people love to say two people or people not allowed to speak to the press, not authorized. So, were they sitting on a bar stool and asked some guy? Because that's, according to two people familiar with the situation. Yeah, I heard Charlie tell Bill and, some other guy that his cousin, said, yeah, this is what's going on. I mean, is that... they have to start putting sources in here and not be afraid of what happens. And, of course, the media says, well, if we do that, we won't get any sources because everyone will be afraid that, the source would be arrested because they're not allowed to do that. They have press release people and everything's supposed to go through there. So it stops the whistleblower. Well, these aren't whistleblowers, all right? It's not whistleblowing. The move by Doge, a Trump administrated task force assigned to find ways to, this is them saying it, fire federal workers, cut programs, and slash federal regulations. Now, cut programs and slash federal regulations. All right. If that guy over there, his job is to hand out stickers, and my job is to hand out stickers that just go on the right side of a window. His job is the left side. Then there's a guy over there just the back side of the window. You think that's efficient? You think that, the guy sitting there that just handing out stickers can just say, put on a form where, you need a right-hand sticker, here you go. A left-hand sticker, here you go. Back sticker, you need all three stickers. Here you go. Now you got one guy doing the work of three and probably more efficiently. Anyone have problems with that? So that's part of it. But there's more, folks. Because where I didn't have the problem with efficiency and scaling down the workforce. When I was in the union, and they'd fight, the union would say, hey, that's our job, we're going to do it. And I don't care if it's was pushing the button to make it happen, or finding the record, putting it on, queuing it up, getting it ready, and doing that's still my job. Now, if it's all in there, queued up for me by a computer, I still get to push that button, just like I put the needle down on the record. But what I didn't need then is three people behind me getting the album for me, writing the playlist, and doing all that, because now it's all queued and I can just push a button. And you'd have to recognize that the company had the right to be modern. And why use a wind-up phonograph, and when they had an MP3 player? So you have to recognize it. Doesn't mean that job goes away or someone else does the job. You still have to know the music. You still have to know the genre. You still have to know your audience. You still have to know all these things. So, the person doing the job could still be doing the job regardless if you put the record on or push the button. Just because the way that happened changed doesn't mean I don't get to do it anymore. So this is the same thing that's going on in government. We're going through, and this should have been done years ago, and I'm going to give you some surprise information that some of you might not have known. So the New York Times now, first reported that this Doge group had access to the massive federal payment system, which is really, in essence, an automated clearinghouse. It's just a system that takes money out the door. Never takes money in the door. They just get a pile of cash, and they go, pay, 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 pay. Pay, 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 pay. And they just send it out the door. They don't look at the let's see how this was approved. Let's see how this was all done. That's the Office of Budget and Management, and then Congress before them. So these people in this office and I'm going to say USAID, they just get a piece of paper and they go pay it. You pay it to these people. This is the routing number. This is where it goes, and that dollar amount that goes. So they don't really where they, like Elon Musk said, that they're acting illegally, or they approve everything that's put in front of them. Well, yeah, because it's been pre-approved. So, that's a fact. They're not there to make that decision. That decision has been made for them. All the people that made the decision is having them do it so that it follows a paper trail. That the person who gets the request, approves the request, and then sends the money is not all the same person. So you got some layers. You kind of figure people are looking at it, but let's go that way. And of course, these were two people who spoke to the Associated Press on conditions of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. I hate that. I hate that. Because it could be anyone. And these people don't know because they're not authorized. I don't know who I'm talking to. They tell me that, this is who they are or whatever. But so I can just write that down as if it's news, as if it's real. So, again, my problem. It doesn't mean it's not real. I'll go there. I'll go there with you. That it doesn't mean that these people aren't in that office and seeing it and going, holy, someone has to be told. All right. The highest ranking Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee. Guess who that is, folks? You got him. Ron Wyden out of Oregon. Remember him? He was the one that I said outright lied. So he went to, of course, Secretary Scott Bessent and expressed concern that Musk may have intended to have access to these payment systems to illegally withhold payments to any number of programs. To put it bluntly, these payment systems simply cannot fail, and any political motivated meddling in them risk severe damage to our country and economy. Weidenstein, and this is the federal payment system. So the last thing he wants to do, and that's his job, he sits on the finance committee, is to have these things, money that's been appropriated, held up. Now, this comes after the acting Deputy Secretary, David Lebrick, resigned from his position at the Treasury after more than 30 years of service. And the Washington Post on Friday reported that Lebrick resigned his position after Musk and his Doge organizations requested access to sensitive Treasury data. Now, this is where I say it gets murky. And after reading the executive order, there is some meat on the bone that lets people look at this data. Now, where they say it's sensitive data or top secret, I don't know. I don't know if this department handles that, or the CIA did that, or the FBI did that, or, but they're saying we're worried that this is secret data. Now, if you're talking about Social Security payment numbers and things like that, those are sensitive things. But the government, didn't reissue us numbers after, I don't know, how many attacks? They say our Social Security numbers are all over the place, and no one seems to be too concerned about that. And the Lebrick said the Fiscal Service performs some of the most vital functions in our government. In a letter to Treasury employee that he sent out to the Treasury employees on Friday, our work may be unknown to most of the public, but that doesn't mean it isn't exceptionally important. And he gave, I thank you for the 30 years of service and good luck. Now, Musk reported on Saturday, remember happened Friday, and there was a big to-do about them getting into the Ronald Reagan building and another building, and this is what happens when you get a little bit ahead of yourself. But the Doge team discovered, among other things, that payment approval officers at the Treasury Department were instructed always to approve payments, even to known fraudulent or terrorist groups. So, their job wasn't to critique the request for payment. Actually, it wasn't a request at this point now. It is a demand for payment. So, even if it said Hamas, even if it said Iran, even if it said, the Ku Klux Klan, they were to send that check out, make the payment through the electronic system, and which is interesting because to be able to get access to see what went out over an electronic system, there's a lot of security. So what Musk is saying, they literally never denied any payment in their entire career. Not once. Now, the article said he did not provide proof of this claim. Now, isn't that interesting? That they're demanding proof of that, but never demanded proof from those two unnamed sources. Now, you see how that works, folks? You feel comfortable with that? This is why it's news with a view, folks. If you're going to be transparent, you better not be afraid to show what you got. All right? Just saying. It's like going to a nudist colony. Now, yesterday, in my I don't like this is bad business because we don't know what this is all about. Doge. So, Fat Cat, that's me, said, well, if someone's not going to spoon feed me, I'm going to have to look it up. It sounds like going to the library in the day, finding out under the Dewey Decimal System what shelf and level it's on, and now I got to go and find it. Not only do I have to read the stupid book, but I got to find it. So, what is Doge? The Doge is actually a temporary organization. It was founded under the Trump administration, but it was not really founded. Did you know? Because I didn't. Because I never cared before. It was not my field of vision. That the Doge is actually the United States Digital Service, the USDS. Doge is not a federal executive department. And like I said yesterday, and I did know that, and only Congress can approve that. And that would require a congressional act. Now, I'm not saying that that could not happen down the road, because this ends, I think, this is an 18-month temporary setup. And when it ends unless it gets extended, or, sometimes anything can last forever. Temporary. You could have scientists who say, well, I know the universe is temporary. You hear him say that? So, what was the purpose of Doge? Doge's purpose was to reduce wasteful spending and eliminate unnecessary regulations. All right, who gets to say those regulations are unnecessary? All right, that's going to say. Before you start erasing things, let's see what they are and let's see what the impact would be. Because if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know. And it's basically an order, a formal process to modernize federal technology and software to maximize government efficiency and productivity. Now, can anyone really say that's a bad thing? All right. Now, I can. In a non-government atmosphere, I go to McDonald's, I walk in, I expect to see a nice smiling face and asking me, how can I help you today? And I get a kiosk. And I go, okay, I want a cheeseburger, but I don't want pickles or mustard on it. And now I'm sitting over here, I'm hitting buttons. No, that's not what I want. I don't want 3 of them. And it might be efficient to them in the back, but not really, because when I walked up there, I told her what I wanted. she was trained. She understood. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, you want cheeseburger? Ketchup only. Yeah, you want onions on that? Boom, 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 boom. Fry and a Coke. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Wait over there. Number will be called. And off to the races she goes for the next person. Well, now, I got 4 people behind me. And I'm going, screw this. I'm not doing this. Boom, cancel, boom. And now these people, some of them go through the same gyration. So technology and with the idea, well, we'll force you into doing it, doesn't always work. But they're making plans on modernizing, which is great. We should. So this got talked about in November 2024. And after he knew that he was going to have his second term, things got serious. Remember, Ramaswamy was going to lead this with Elon Musk, and then he decided I might run for governor of Ohio, so I'm going to sit back from this. The organization was created by executive order on the 20th of January. We all saw that. And is scheduled to end July 4th, 2026. So it has a very defined, 18-month lifespan. And the office will be in the Eisenhower Executive Building, and will have about 20 employees where there are teams embedded in federal agencies. Now, that, again, is the question. You can be embedded there. What are you allowed to look at? What are you allowed to ask for? So, I'm going to say the easiest answer I would give if I was Musk or Trump or the White House chief of staff, who these people report to. You could ask for anything you want. You can ask for anything you want. I think there should be a queue process where you make your request, it goes into the upper echelons, and if that echelon says, hey, I have no problem giving this data, but I want you to understand, my job over here says I can't give that data out willy-nilly. So I got to let you know by giving it to them. After I hand that to them, if something happens with that data, if it ends up on the New York Times, if it ends up at the Department of Justice, if it ends up on the street corner, in this guy's back pocket, and he leaves it on a bus, I don't want to hear it. Do not want to hear it. It does not come back to me. And since all we do here is pay the bills you tell us to pay, we all know. But I'm just not going to allow them to go to a drawer, open a drawer, and start yanking papers. Or data files, or whatever. That request has to come through this office. If I deem that this is so sensitive, I need a little upward approval on it. We have to have some type of working plan here so I can go to them. I go, I got your request. You're asking for a little bit more than we would normally feel comfortable giving you. We are going to give it to you. I just have to have the thumbs up from over there. If I do not get the thumbs up, I will tell you who that thumbs up or down person was, and you can take it to your people. But I'm not refusing it. I'm just going through a process here for you. And that process could take 2 days. Okay? We're going to say, if it's not here within 48 hours, come right to my door. You tell me, and we'll have a mechanism here at that and procedure. Boom, we'll fast track an answer for you. All right? So I think those things can work. But you got to have a process. You got to know what you're doing before I'm going to swim across that river. Well, can you swim? I'm going to find out. Well, I don't know if that's a very good idea. Maybe you want to go over there and practice first with someone who can hold you out. All right. The Doge concept emerged in its discussion between Musk and Trump, and where Musk floated an idea of a department for streamlining government, and that was in August of 2024. And said if he was elected, he would be open to giving Musk an advisory role. In response, Musk wrote on X saying, "I'm willing to serve," along with an AI-created image of him standing in front of a lectern marked Department of Government Efficiency. So, isn't that fun? I gotta see who that was because that is one of my more alerty. All right, so I'm gonna have to call later. All right. All right, we'll take care of this. So, this is a leap, but this is not new. And they're trying to, save $2 trillion through the measure to reduce waste. And, $2 trillion is a lot of money. Now, in the government world, $2 trillion is not a lot of money. But if you would have told me, hey, we'll give you a tenth of $2 trillion. Yeah. So, in reality, there are people in the government saying that the government is overstaffed by about 75%. I don't know that. I would certainly say in the 30% it's overstaffed. And but what would be the time frame to take their positions, wheel in technology, and just through attrition, have these people leave the rank? And not give those jobs away to private sector or anything like that. These were government jobs, and they're government jobs so that the government has full control over them. And yes, they can be used for votes and everything else. That's always been that thing. I don't want to hear that. Musk is saying that we probably could take agencies that have 400 people or less and consolidate them down to less than 100. So you have some people working on trying this. So you had, Pete Sessions and Aaron Bean who delivering statements on the real support a Doge committee or the U.S. Digital Services can perform if given the authority, which they do not have. They don't have much authority. And remember, Johnny Ernest, Republican Iowa, in December 2024, proposed a bill dubbed Drain the Swamp Act, which would require each executive agency to relocate at least 30% of the employees working at Washington, D.C. headquarters to offices outside of D.C. area, while also restricting the ability to telework. So what he's saying, no more telework. You come to work and you move some of these jobs out of the city where we're paying gazillions of dollars. As of December, Jared Moskowitz, Democrat out of Florida, is the only Democrat to have joined the newly formed Doge caucus in Congress. And he has also proposed reorganized Department of Homeland by potentially removing agencies within the Federal Management Agency and the Secret Service from its jurisdiction. This would reduce the size of Department of Homeland Security, DHS. So it might reduce the size, but now you're creating 2 new departments or 3 new departments that needs heads and people and everything. So no, we're not doing that. We're going to keep it the way it is right now and let the committee come up with proposals. And in late January 2025, the Washington Post, another one, describes Musk gaining access to large parts of the federal bureaucracy and installing key surrogates and former employees of Musk companies as heads at several agencies. Wired reported that the top ranks of the human resource-focused United States Office of Personnel Management, OPM, love these 3-letter words because most Americans get lost after NASA, have been filled by new hires, formerly worked for Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Republican politicians, or right-wing media outlets, while Musk allies were installed into technology-focused General Service Administration, the good old GSA, which have massive planned spending costs. So, on January 28th, the OPM, another 3-letter word. So, they offered the deferred resignation, the buyout, who would resign, and you'd get paid till September 30th, 2025. And this was a similar offer that Musk said that he would have acted on. And then, of course, on January 31st, that Musk and his group locked some career civil servants out of computer systems at the Office of Personnel Management. That was the OPM. So just so you know. The same day, multiple sources reported David Librick, a top Treasury career, was pushed out after he refused to grant Doge access to the system that disperses $5.4 billion annually. And that's everything. I mean, they push everything. Social Security, boom, boom, everything. That's the cash register. That's the vault. So, and the new Secretary of Treasury granted Doge access to the system later that day. So, New York Times described it as a possible attempt by Trump to unilaterally restrict disbursement of money approved for specific purposes by Congress following the funding freeze. They can make that claim, but unless he does it, you could also say that Trump is, could possibly take that and reroute that all to a bank account in the Cayman Islands. All right, so So, so what Musk is responding to, basically, they're acting criminally. That federal employees are breaking the law every hour, every day, by approving payments that are fraudulent or do not match the funding laws passed by Congress. So what he's saying goes, Congress might have passed these, but they're not being sent to the people that Congress said they should be. And no one is questioning that. They're just doing it. Well, again, is it their job to question it? Or is their job just to go, oh, bill number 32, tick, 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 tick. Bill number 33, boom, 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 and they just pay it. It might not be their job to look at it and improve it. You would think you go to a restaurant, and if the owner's wife is running the register and she sees a bill here, well, I see 6 steak dinners and it's $1.99. Yeah, what's going on here? She's the gatekeeper. But are these people tasked with being the gatekeeper? And I don't think they are. So, on February 1st, members of Doge gained access to classified information of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, without sufficient security clearance. Now, see that? I kind of get. I kind of get that. So you want to be able to say that the people that are looking at this are trustworthy, that this isn't going to end up in the New York Times or an embarrassment, or it may be even a possible threat to our underground agents or friends. So there's a lot more to it than just saying, hey, where'd that dollar go? There are things that need to be looked at, and that's where I said you might need that 2-day window. I know what you're asking for, but this is stuff that we normally do not give out to people like you. We give it to that secret committee over there that looks at all that stuff. So unless that secret committee gives me the thumbs up to send it to you, you might not get it for a couple of days. And I'm okay with that. But if everything ends up having, secret committee, you know what they're like, then there's a problem. So we got to get through that. I think it's very possible. And, Musk saying we're shutting it down. It's time for this place to die. And many of those that work at USAID lost their access to the computer system. Well, you're still going to get paid for the time being. Okay. Now, this has been tried in the past. This is nothing new. When I said, hey, did you know? Because I didn't know. You know who the first president was that tried to do this? He was the one that said, walk softly and carry a big stick. Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy. And that was called the Keep Commission. And then Ronald Reagan, appointment of Peter Grace to lead the Grace Commission. And not to be let off, Vice President Al Gore's National Partnership for Reinventing Government. Now, that was a little bit different because his thing is that he didn't want people looking at stuff. But that's okay. But it's been tried before. And other similar commissions. United States Bureau of Efficiency from 1916 to 1933. Brownlow Committee, 1937. Hoover Commission, two commissions, 47 through 49 and 53 through 55. And Project on National Security Reform, 2006 to 2012. Despite its name, Doge is not a federal executive department, which we require an act of Congress to create. And I said that yesterday. That much I did know. And this is a commission. It's fact-finding. They have or should not have any yay or nay power. So, unlikely to have any regulatory teeth of its own, but there's little doubt that it can have an influence in the incoming administration and how it will determine budgets. Meant to dismantle government bureaucracy / excessive regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies. And that is Donald Trump saying that. And would work with the OMB, which is the Office of Management and Budget, to go after what they called massive waste and fraud in government. And one of the things in November that Musk said that he'd love to see eliminated is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And that and officials from Doge had inquired about abolishing the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and to restructure it and how it works and the Federal Reserve. Now, I was a treasurer of a multi-million-dollar credit union as part of my other life, other than a CBS broadcast engineer, technician. The real engineers were the big boys. But in my capacity was to deal with the National Credit Union Administration, a branch of the federal government that guaranteed deposits. Now, we paid our own way, and it went by your deposits and your assets. So if I had $8 million in deposits and $15 million in assets, I paid on $23 million, and they came up with a percentage, and you sent a check every year. As a matter of fact, for the longest time, you didn't send a check. They just took it right out of your bank. And you logged it in, but you got to use that as a deposit because that was still your money. So you could carry it on your books, and I always called that a little smoky, but you could do it. I couldn't put my insurance and call it as, wow, that's money in the bank. No, it's out the door. I'll never see it again. Which was the truth. But we were allowed to carry it the other way. So, now what they wanted to do with, and I was a proponent of this too with FDIC. Does everyone need a blanket $250,000 guarantee on their money? How many of you have $250,000 in the bank that needs to be guaranteed in each account? Not total. That's not the bucket. That's each little envelope as an account. Just so you know. Except yellow paper and things that are not. They might be guaranteed by the Security and Exchange Commission because it's a security investment, but there's no guarantee on return. There's a whole bunch of things, but know your finances. But I always said that if you had more than $100,000, then you had to pay, $1 per account per month to guarantee that. And this just goes into the coffers of FDIC. And in this way, it always stays funded by the bank. On top of that, by the member's taking out an insurance policy. So if they have $150,000 in it, and if they didn't have that, well, we're going to guarantee you your 100 is guaranteed. And we're going to try to get you make good on your 50, but that might take 5 years. And in reality, FDIC, they don't say how long it takes to give you that money. Just so you know. And this can be done because I would say, unless you're a business, or you retired, or you sold your house, I mean, the framework to have more than $250,000 for a majority of the people that need banking services, not going to happen. Not going to happen. So, let those that have it pay for it. I have no problem with that. You know, after a certain plateau, sure. I don't expect my insurance company, if I have a Kia that I paid $18,000 for, but they're going to charge me as if it was a Mercedes, because that guy over there has the Mercedes, but he doesn't want to pay. He wants to pay like it was a Kia. It has 4 wheels, square, drives. So I kind of see it a little differently. But that's just me. Oh, why do I have blank pages here? Oh, if you are interested in reading everything about Doge, you can go to Executive Order 14158 of January 20th, 2025, and read it. I did, and it showed me who can do what and how it works and blah, blah, blah. And at the end, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because it'd be like rocking you back and forth, holding a bottle, you'd be sleeping. But it does answer questions. And it does make you have to ask some more questions. But that is Executive Order 14158. Read it. Learn. Don't be like me. I don't know. What does it mean? I found out what it meant. And that's why I wrote this. It says me on it, so I know me. So who is afraid of the big bad wolf? Right? The president has set up a committee, as have other presidents in the past, to examine and combat waste in our federal government. Anyone have a problem with that? Now, let's just look at that. Waste. Now, if you can show me that that's not waste and that is needed and why you need 6 people doing one job, I'm going to listen to you. But there better be facts. And the president, under Section 551 U.S. Code, Title 5, can do what he did. So you know. And this creates a temporary organization and renames another department. Rename of the U.S. Digital Services to Doge. So, without going through and rewriting every paragraph, now what happens if you see United States Digital Services? It's also known as Doge, an AKA. It just, I'm going to go through that, but you read further down this document, and it's interesting. And so I said it creates a temporary organization who reports to the White House Chief of Staff. And the United States Civil Service, Section 3161, Title 5. This is an 18-month agenda. So there is a life. It has to have at least 4 employees. Now, one has to be a head, one has to be legal, one has to be the guy that goes out on the street, and one probably runs the office. I know that there's going to be a lot more than that, because we know that already. And their function of that office, the guy that goes out and goes to all these different agencies, they will inform the other agency department heads of any implementation of the President Doge agenda to the maximum extent of the law. So, if your agency is not performing its duty as what the law says it should be, it's going to be pointed out. They can't come in there and tell them you can't do something that the law says they can do. All right? Can't happen. They're also tasked with finding out, modernizing the federal technology and software for efficiency and production and safety. It's a big word. So security. We want security. And this is just mine because I couldn't put in any other words, but basically if you read the act in the last section, which is section 5, the executive order displaces all other executive orders and regulations or the above-mentioned titles and sections. So, where I said that it doesn't change anything, I thought it did, because it says it displaces them. But I don't know if those things are just title names, and this now, you can't refer back to Title 5, Section 3161, because this title overwrote that title, and maybe, I don't know. My law degree on the Long Island Railroad, while I'm reading a paper, I might have skipped over that night. So that's it with Doge. I feel a little bit better about it. I'm not as concerned about what's going on. I think it needs just to be, it needs to be formed a little bit better, and people need to be brought in to the fold and explain what exactly is going on and how this is going to work and who reports to who and how. And where this may seem like a one-way street, where these people will not be able to say, hey, but no one asked me what I did here. The guy just looked and walked away, and then he made a determination of what I've been doing here for 20 years in 5 minutes. He didn't see everything else I was doing. So, and that's always the bean counter. Musk is now a bean counter. One of them. And, I've been through many iterations of bean counters who come in and, and they want to know, well, we counted how many video switches you made and routing and what you did and how you did it, and why can't a computer do it? And you sit down with them and go, computer, we do have computers that do. We run automation all the time. We program the computer up and then we watch the computer get into the time queue, count down, do it. And if it doesn't do it, we push a magic button that forces it to do it. And if that magic button doesn't work, we go over to this panel and we start pounding away because we got 64 seconds from this from the start of when it should have happened. So now we might be down to 22 seconds. And to push the networks over in what we prioritize. And after they looked at it and, weighed it and said, yeah, we're done with you guys. We don't know what you do. And there's no way for us to quantify it. But we did have engineering management and management that weren't engineers, but listened to a Musk to come in. And everyone was afraid of this one guy. He's going to take all our jobs from us. And I kept telling them, I said, no, he's going to create jobs. And that's exactly what happened. Now, some of the people that could not perform this new job, they just were not technically capable of doing it. The people that were technically able to be retrained and to do these functions did it. The other people were given buyouts and they were happy and they left. The company was very, very kind in that respect. And I wouldn't say it was this individual who ran that division was very kind, very knowledgeable. But I think it was the people above him to say, and a lot of us in the ranks that had the ear of these people to say, hey, you're going to take someone that's been here 32 years and they got 4 more years to go for, to hit 65. By the time this is done, they'll be 63. Push them out the door to 65. And do the right thing. And they did. And they did. So, labor and union can work together. And sometimes kumbaya. And other times, we're going to rock you. But at least I had seen in my union, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the radio and television engineer branch, Local 1212, run by great people, smart people, smart. I mean, stuff that I didn't even think of never even entered my mind, and then they plant a little seed there and I go, oh, now I see. So, but it does work. This can work, but it's government, and you know what happens with government. But it's not all, they're not coming in and just chopping and doing it, at least not yet. But they got their eyes on some people, and some people are going to be scared, and should be. All right. With that, I'm going to process this out. I want this out the door by 2 o'clock today. I'm not going to do another show tonight unless something really, really big happens. And like I said, the deal with Mexico. Mexico has already said they're going to put 10,000 troops on the border to stop drugs and illegal immigration. Mostly they said drugs. We'll see. And that Trump said, hey, that's great. That's exactly what I needed to hear you say. And so my tariff, let's talk. We'll make nice, but we'll revisit this 30 days from now. Right now, let's everyone calm down. Right? It was the guy I used to work with in negotiations, and he'd get all excited, and I'd have to go. Calm. Deep breaths. So, as I said yesterday with all this stuff, I give it a 2-week window. I'd be shocked, except maybe for China, but a 2-week window. And, Trump has already said, his administration, hey, Mexico, you got this all wrong. That's all I need you to do. That's all I'm asking you to do. And I think Canada is going to do something because, we work together. Really. What's the difference between an American and a Canadian? In the American things, I think we weigh about 15 pounds more on average, but that's about it. So, all right, guys, everyone, have a good day. Be safe. Say prayers to our victims. We all know who our victims are. They need a prayer. If you can help, give to a registered charity. That charity will not come to you. You must go to that charity. Do not become a victim, helping a victim. You know what I say. And with that, I'm going to fade to black and then edit this. Fade to black.